5th of August 25. I'm just making a video about this because I think it's very important and it should be taught at school. Really, maybe the last year of primary school or something, because I think it's so important. The detox enzymes, as they're called, they haven't really got a good name, this group of enzymes. It's a group of enzymes, I don't know, say there's about 20 of them, there's probably more, but say 20 main ones, maybe even less than that. They're mostly, they've not got a very good name as a grouping, but the pharma industry call them the pharma enzymes, and that's because they're that important to do with their medications, how your medications are broken down. Do they inhibit any of these enzymes? But they always end up interacting with this group of enzymes, so they're so important. I think a lot of people think they've got allergies might actually have a weakness in these enzymes because we all vary on them, and you've got two main phases, the phase 1 and the phase 2, that's another name they call them. I understand that to be phase 1 is redox, really. It's either reduction or oxidation, but I think it's mostly oxidation. Is that where you add oxygen onto it? And the other one is the conjugation phase, phase 2, where some sort of chemical compound gets added, like it can be a sulfate or it can be an amino acid even, and they're known as the conjugation enzymes. That's what I know them as. I don't really know. So it's either redox or a chemical addition, chemical compound addition. And they're known as the phase 1 and phase 2 enzymes. But I just wanted to talk about this, and this is why you see a grapefruit warning on every medication that you take, probably. So on every medication you'll probably think, why does it say grapefruit in particular? Well, it's because that's the only fruit that I've found that depresses, especially the CYP enzymes. I think it's the cytochrome P450 enzymes, which were discovered around about the 1950s in Japan. They're a sort of purpley colour, I think that's why they're known as cytochrome, I think. And yeah, at the moment, grapefruit's the only one that they're putting a warning on. But I'm wondering, and what about all the other fruits? Because I find, and this is why I made this the video, I was going to call it Can you overdose on Frutella sweets? But then Americans wouldn't know what Frutella is. It's a sort of fruit flavoured sweet. Yeah, it's the same as, what do you call them, apple fruits? What's the other name for them? The American name? I can't remember now. But I've also had this problem with cherries and berries. In fact, every sort of concentrated fruit drink. I mean the type where you add water to. So, yeah, I've had this problem. And I think it's when you drink a lot. It's not when you drink a lot in one go. It's where you're drinking quite a bit continuously. So I was drinking cherries and berries, which I really like actually. Drink. I was using it instead of say water or even fizzy drink. But I think it actually inhibits these enzymes because the two problems can be either they inhibit the enzymes or they overload them. So, and I think in this case they inhibit the enzymes. So I just wanted to talk about this with you in general. So I'm calling them detox enzymes, but they actually do a lot more than that. They're very, very commonly used enzymes in humans and all animals and plants probably. And it's usually a group. I mean, you've got lots of enzymes. I don't know how many you've got. Say 10,000 or something, but there's 20 are really involved all the time with humans. And if you've got a weakness in them, you might end up with a problem because there's a thing called Gilbert syndrome. I've spelled that wrong. I used to think it was called Gilbert syndrome. Turns out it's, well, call it that. Yeah. And if you look up on that, the only reason that this was discovered by Mr. Gilbert, I presume, was because people, their eyes tend to go yellow, like they've got hepatitis or, what's that other thing, jaundice, that sort of thing. But it turns out that maybe 5% of the population get this yellowing of the eye, and it's actually a weakness. I think it's one of the phase 2 enzymes, so the conjugator enzymes, and I think it's glucuronidation, and I think it's where a glucose chemical, a glucose compound gets added, not a compound, it's just glucose on its own, gets added, and this is how the detox, that's what that does. I'll need to check this. Anyway, doctors say it's harmless, so the mainstream medicine says it's harmless, but when I check the forums, the people with this say they feel really tired all the time, they feel like even that they're going out of their mind, and they do things like, if it's their work break, they have a sleep in the car, so really, there's something really wrong with them. The governments should be investigating it, but the problem is, nobody's investigating it yet. You'll get anecdotal researchers investigating, but the system isn't investigating it, and I reckon they probably make up a big chunk of chronic fatigue cases, and these chronic fatigue cases end up on welfare, and then the government resents it on welfare, and so do a lot of people. So these people could probably be sorted out, maybe, by the system, but the way the system's actually treating them is they just end up on welfare, and that's it really. If they're in work, they're probably maybe a burden to their work, not because anything else other than they're tired all the time, they might be inconsistent. So all these sort of things should be looked at, in particular detox enzymes. I've talked in the past about how I think over-fermentation is another problem in our societies, and we're being taught that under-fermentation is the problem, and we should all be taking probiotics, fibre, all that sort of stuff. So this is two big things that I think are missed at the moment. So let's take a look at the Frutella thing anyway. I'll show you what Google Gemini says first of all about detox enzymes. So yeah, here we go. This is what I'm talking about. Primarily carried out by the liver. Yeah, most of these enzymes are in the liver. They are elsewhere, but mostly they're concentrated in the liver, and involves a series of enzymatic reactions, often categorized into two phases. These enzymes work to convert fat-soluble toxins. Yeah, this is what they're doing. It's taking the things you're taking are fat-soluble, and they're changing them to basically water-soluble, and then you can mostly urinate them out. Both from external sources or xenobiotics, that's ones you create internally, either from your gut, from what you've been eating, or even absorbed through your skin, stuff like that. And from the body's own metabolism as well, so you create toxins from your own metabolism into water-soluble compounds that can be easily excreted, and that's a fantastic explanation. This is exactly what it does. When you first look at it, you might think, oh, I'm confused what you're talking about, but this is exactly what it does. It's turning fat-soluble toxins into water-soluble compounds. These enzymes are doing that. And the main detox enzymes in human are the phase 1 enzymes, primarily from the cytochrome P450 group superfamily, are the body's first line of defense. They work by adding a reactive group to the toxic compound, which makes it more water soluble, and when it does that, in a lot of cases it needs phase 2 after that, and that reactive group is actually more toxic than the original thing. Then it needs a phase 2, but sometimes it does away with it completely. It makes it water soluble completely from that, which makes it more water soluble. Well, this process can sometimes create an intermediate compound that is even more toxic. That's what I was saying. It is a necessary step for the next phase of detoxification. So you've got the cytochrome P450 family. This is the main family of the phase 1s. This is a large family of enzymes that metabolize a wide variety of compounds, including drugs, environmental toxins. See, that's why pharma are so interested in it, because they don't want bad reactions, because then you would sue them, and they would, either they would have to stop the drug or pay out lots of money, etc., etc. But I think lots of people have bad reactions to these drugs and medicines anyway. They just don't realise. They don't take them long enough to realise it's the medicine, or it's just not bad enough. I mean, what I feel on cherries and berries, drinking that when I is just out of my mind, basically. And I was feeling that with Frutella recently, because I was basically overdosing in Frutella, really, because I love them. But I'm just showing you that cherries and berries and that we're taught are good things, and they are good things, but if you're taking them all the time, they can be bad things if you've got a weakness in these enzymes at all. So environmental toxins and endogenous substances, that's stuff inside you, like hormones. And I wonder if a lot of the problems that women have, say with their period and that, may be to do with a weakness in these enzymes, one or both or other, one or more. And then when they get their period, this is why they have a bad period, because these hormones need to be detoxified by the body. If you're low in one or more of these enzymes, then that might be the problem. Or it might be that you take a lot of fruit at that time. That's inhibiting the enzyme, and you're just overloading on these hormones. That sort of thing, you know. Key examples. At the moment, mainstream medicine doesn't care. We don't care. Just go on with it. As long as you don't die and we're directly to blame. Obviously directly to blame, you know. So CYP3A4 is the main one. And I was also going to point out that we should also do genetic tests so that we know if we've got any weakness in these enzymes. We should all do a full genome test anyway, but in this case, sometimes you can do pharma enzyme genetic tests, but personally I think just do the whole lot, you know, one go, don't do it. So CYP3A4 is responsible for metabolizing over 50% of all prescription medications. So there you go. And that's probably the one that grapefruit acts most on. It's probably all the CYPs actually. But that's probably why they put grapefruit on, because of that enzyme in particular. Then you get CYP1A1, detoxifies polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. So it tells you the sort of compounds found in things like exhaust fumes and charbroiled meats. CYP2D6, CYP2C9 and CYP2C19 also play significant roles in drug metabolism. And you've also got the flavin-containing monooxygenases, the FMOs, another important family of enzymes that perform similar functions to the CYPs. So these are oxidizers as well. I think flavin means green or yellow. So I don't know if they're actually that colour, those enzymes, or what. Alcohol dehydrogenase and aldehyde dehydrogenase, and this is important for hangovers actually. Enzymes that are crucial for the metabolism of ethanol, and actually some probiotic company has genetically engineered a probiotic that includes an enzyme that detoxifies aldehyde dehydrogenase, because that's what causes hangovers. And so this is the first time that I think some companies done that as to sell to the public. So I think it's called Z Biotic, and yeah, that's the way forward, really, doing probiotics like that that actually do have a purpose other than just to be part of the microflora in your gut. And monoamine oxidase, an enzyme that breaks down neurotransmitters like dopamine, epinephrine, and norepinephrine, that sort of thing. So there is other ones, but these are the main ones. And it's interesting that alcohol dehydrogenase, because for alcoholics, one of the sort of therapies they can get is a drug that inhibits that enzyme that breaks that down. And it means any time they take alcohol, they get a terrible reaction. And in fact, a lot of people in certain areas of the world also get a bad reaction, and it's to do with this enzyme. They've got a lower amount than other people around the world, and that's why they get a flush when they take alcohol, and they feel bad, so they don't tend to take it. You know, you tend to avoid things that you think, well, I think you do anyway, you know. And I wonder if this is why some people don't take vegetables and stuff, because they might inhibit these enzymes, then you feel worse, you know. I mean, the way it happens for most people is when you're taking things all the time. Like if you took garlic every day, that sort of situation, it's not when you take garlic maybe once a week. That's not enough, because you need to be either inhibiting the enzyme all the time or overloading it all the time. So it's that way. So onto these phase 2 enzymes, like I say, they're not got a good name. I wish they'd come up with a good name. A farmer person would call them pharma enzymes. These enzymes act on the products of phase 1. They attach a larger water-soluble molecule, a conjugate, to the compound, making it even more polar and ready for excretion from the body through urine or bile, mainly because they're making it water-soluble. Like, I think there's about 6 main groups. Glutathione S-transferases. I said that wrong, okay. I think that adds glutathione to it. Conjugate toxins with glutathione, a powerful antioxidant. UDP glucurosyltransferases attach a glucuronic acid molecule to the toxin, and this is the one where I said I reckon maybe 5% of people get Gilbert syndrome because they get a yellow eye. Because they get a yellow eye, the doctor notices it. If they didn't get a yellow eye, mainstream medicine wouldn't know about Gilbert syndrome, and because of that, they're told it's harmless, but actually it looks to me as if a lot of them have chronic fatigue and probably end up in welfare because of that. Sulfotransferases. This adds a sulfate group to the compound. N-acetyltransferases attach an acetyl group. Amino acid transferases conjugate compounds like amino acids like glycine or taurine. Yeah, so I said glucose earlier on, but I meant glucuronic acid. So I think it is a glucose molecule attached to something else. I don't know. I'm just guessing. So glucose isn't there at all. I thought glucose was another one of them, but how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm sure glucose is another one in this group. But this is the point I want to make. Everyone should learn about these at primary school, I would reckon, even. So I just asked, I meant to stop it there. I need to check that. I just asked what percent of UK population have Gilbert syndrome, and it says between 1 in 20 and 1 in 10, and I think Google Gemini is going the mainstream medicine way and underestimating, 1 in 10. So, well, that's more than I said, wasn't it? That's 10%. Yeah, between 5 and 10%. Yeah. Well, that's even higher. Well, I agree with that then. And this is people who get yellowing of the eye but don't have any. They're told there's nothing wrong, they've got Gilbert syndrome and it's harmless. It's important to note that many people with Gilbert syndrome never experience any symptoms and are often unaware they have it until a routine blood test reveals slightly raised bilirubin levels. Yeah, because that's what causes it. Raised bilirubin levels. And many of them don't even get a yellow on the eye. So, yeah. I mean, chronic fatigue syndrome is just an umbrella name for people. We don't know what's wrong with them. There might be nothing wrong with them under mainstream medicine's opinion. That's what they think. But they might have some sort of physical thing that we don't know. We know everything about a racehorse's metabolism, but these people, we'll just leave them. We're not interested. So, yeah. So I just asked about Gilbert syndrome. Fatigue is a commonly reported symptom among people with Gilbert syndrome. Many individuals with the condition describe feelings of tiredness, exhaustion, or a general lack of energy, especially during episodes where their bilirubin levels are elevated. The exact link between Gilbert syndrome and fatigue is not fully understood, but it is believed to be related to the body's reduced ability to process certain toxins and the impact of elevated bilirubin on cellular function. It's important to note that the fatigue associated with Gilbert syndrome is often triggered by factors that put a strain on the body, such as dehydration, just general living, really. Because fatigue is a symptom of many different conditions, it's essential to consult. Yeah, but they'll not help them anyway, the doctor. So, I just wanted to point that out. What society could do at the moment, what the government could do is, okay, we'll set up a Gilbert syndrome research centre and treatment centre, and if they're on welfare, maybe we'll be able to get them off welfare in a good way, not in a stick way, in a way where we actually make them better. On to my main point, my hypothesis is that people can overdose on Frutella and become mad as a hatter, because a hatter, they were just probably mental health cases until suddenly one person realised that I think it might be the lead poison them. So mad as a hatter, there's something physically wrong with them, because the lead's making them toxic, and that's why they're acting mentally strange. So this is a point I'm making. Can cherries and berries, I'm using this as an example, I was going to put Frutella, but I'll put cherries and berries, concentrated fruit drink, affect these enzymes in a negative way. Cherries and berries, particularly those with deep red and blue colours, are rich in beneficial compounds. Yes, we know this. Anthocyanins, etc. So, when considering concentrated fruit juice drinks, a few factors are important to keep in mind. The sugar content. Well, it could be that, I suppose. I don't think so. Lack of fibre. They're not really going the way I wanted. I wasn't really talking about Gilbert syndrome. I was talking about. Nah, it's not really telling me anything there. I mean, I should have used grapefruit juice possibly. So I think I've worded it right this time. The relationship between foods and detoxification enzymes is complex. Let's see. So they're saying beneficial effects. Well, yeah, we know about that. Then cherries and berries, they actually activate phase 2 enzymes, probably. The phase 2 ones, some of them. So they make it work even better, in theory. I think if your enzymes are activated all the time by foods or whatever, though, will they not eventually just run out because of fatigue or whatever? I don't know. Anyway, that's potential negative effects from concentrated juice. Yes, a new set of variables. No, I didn't. No, they're talking about. Think me again. Gilbert syndrome. So they're saying that cherries and berries will affect them in a good way, but for me it affected them in a bad way, the drinks. So maybe not cherries and berries because they're maybe not concentrated enough, like these fruit juice drinks are. And like I say, it's when you take it all the time, like if maybe you add a bit, maybe if you use it instead of water all the time, you drink 2 litres a day or whatever. Not in one go all the time, because then it's not getting a rest. It's maybe inhibiting enzyme. So I just asked about grapefruit because that's well known. The key players in this interaction, because you really need to know the compounds, and then if that's got compounds, you can compare it to other things as well. But it's that furanocumarins, a class of compounds found in grapefruit, are the key players in this interaction. Unlike cherries and berries, grapefruit's effect is generally one of inhibition. This is what I'm saying, rather than activation. Because these enzymes, either they can be inhibited or you can overload them with stuff. So furanocumarins, a class of compounds found in grapefruit, particularly in the juice. So it's more the juice rather than the actual fruit. These compounds have a powerful and specific effect on the cytochrome P450 family of enzymes. Inhibition of phase 1 enzymes, and they're saying CYP3A4 target enzyme. The most significant interaction involves CYP3A4. This is a major phase 1 enzyme found in the liver and the lining of the small intestine. Yeah, because what I find is my gut feels irritated when I'm taking cherries and berries, I'm saying. Because I don't really take grapefruit, because I know about this. So I'm saying that maybe cherries and berries are a problem as well. If you take them all the time, long term. As I mentioned earlier, and I'm talking about the juice probably more than I've not really noticed that with the fruit. As mentioned earlier, it is responsible for metabolizing a very high percentage of all prescription drugs. That's CYP3A4 they're talking about. Furanocoumarins in grapefruit, such as bergamottin and naringin's metabolite naringinin, act as mechanism-based inhibitors of CYP3A4. This means they don't just temporarily block the enzyme, they permanently bind to and activate it. The body must then synthesize new CYP3A4 enzymes to restore its full metabolic capacity, which can take up to 72 hours. I never knew that. It actually makes the enzymes, it disables them permanently, but because we generally generate new ones within 72 hours, it's the new enzymes that are working. So I never knew that actually. It actually kills the enzymes, but we generate new ones. Well, that's why I'm reading it. Consequences, the inhibition. And that's the way it feels, really. It feels like it takes me 2 or 3 days to recover. The inhibition of CYP3A4 by grapefruit has a profound impact on the body's ability to metabolize certain drugs. When this enzyme is blocked, the drug is not broken down as it normally would be, leading to a much higher concentration of the drug in the bloodstream. This can result in increased drug efficacy and toxicity, because it's still circulating about your body and you're getting higher and higher on it. Reduced first pass metabolism. Yeah, it inhibits those enzymes, and so everything else that uses those enzymes are causing a problem as well. Effect on phase 2 enzymes, I didn't know anything like this. Some research on it suggests that certain compounds in grapefruit may act as bifunctional inducers, meaning they can both affect phase 1 and phase 2 enzymes. It might increase phase 2 ones, but because it's doing that to the phase 1, it's bad, really. Yeah. So that's why you're not to take grapefruit, particularly the juice, when you're taking some sort of drug. But I think especially mental health drugs probably inhibit these enzymes or overload them. So you feel mentally not right because you're overloading on these compounds in these fruits or whatever, which are maybe good for you, in my opinion. You go to a psychiatrist, they give you mental health drugs. They inhibit the enzymes. You feel even worse. Because how I feel anyway is like it feels as if it's hard to say, as if I've been drinking something that's not very good for you. You know, it's not nice. The last time I had it was on Frutella, probably the cherries and berry ones in particular. So I think cherries and berries involved, because I had it with concentrated fruit juice drink as well, particularly cherries and berries ones, but also the mango ones and the tropical fruit ones. So here we go. I just asked it what I meant to say has human or whatever you call them, furanocoumarins. They are found in a number of fruits, particularly citrus ones, and also carrot and parsley family. So citrus fruits, Seville oranges, the bitter orange. Pomelos, grapefruits are a hybrid of sweet orange and a pomelo. So it's not surprising that pomelos also contain furanocoumarins, although often in lower concentrations. Limes, both the juice and the peel of limes contain it, which can cause drug interactions. Tangelos, a hybrid of tangerine and a pomelo grapefruit. Yeah, never heard of them actually. It's important to know that furanocoumarin content can vary significantly based on the specific variety, growing conditions, and which part of the fruit is used. The peel or the zest or often have higher concentrations than the pulp. Other foods, the Apiaceae family, while not fruits, several common vegetables in this family contain them. Parsnips, celery, parsley, dill, carrots. However, the concentration and specific types of furanocoumarins in these vegetables may differ from those in citrus fruits. So it depends what part of the fruit as well you're taking. And their impact on drug metabolism is generally considered less significant. I've just asked it to list them in order of concentration of furanocoumarins or whatever. Yeah, I know it's difficult for it, but this is just a speculative post. So it's part of our plant. We've got to take that into thing as well, and processing, etc. But in general, apparently parsley is the biggest concentration of furanocoumarins. It often exceeds that of grapefruit. Does it? Can you eat different parts of parsley as well? Say parsnips. Oh, this is a surprise. These root vegetables are known to contain very high levels of furanocoumarins, particularly in the peel and just below the skin. Celery, another member of the Apiaceae family. Celery can also have significant furanocoumarin concentrations, especially when stressed or damaged. Then number 4, grapefruit juice and whole fruit. Grapefruit, particularly the juice, is a major dietary source of furanocoumarins, and it is the most studied source for drug interactions. And 5, Seville oranges, bitter oranges. These are a potent source, often used for marmalade, and they are known to cause strong drug interactions, similar to grapefruit. Lime juice and whole fruit. Limes contain furanocoumarins, with the concentration being particularly high in the peel and zest. Dill, like parsley and celery. I mean, this might be why I feel I've got a problem with herbs as well, you know. Dill is a herb, and then that's another thing. I think a lot of people who have these problems, they'll start taking herbs and fruit. The herbs and fruit will make them feel worse, but they don't realise it because they associate it with good stuff, you know. So these are two ways. People don't feel mentally right. They take herbs, but these herbs are concentrated with this, and they feel worse. Or they go to a psychiatrist. The psychiatrist gives them medicine. It inhibits these enzymes. They feel worse. I think this is the way our system works at the moment. So dill, and that's one of the Apiaceae family. And tangelos, which I've never heard of. I thought it meant tangerines, you know. Though the concentration is typically lower than in grapefruit, but they also continue. So it's basically like those group of compounds you don't want to miss out, really. While some vegetables like parsley and parsnips may have a higher concentration by weight, the amount typically consumed at one time might be less than a glass of grapefruit juice. So you've got to take that into context. However, for a person on certain medications, any of these high furanocoumarin foods could pose a risk. And peel versus pulp. The peel and essential oils, so a lot of people take essential oils, often contain the highest concentration. This is why things like zest, marmalade made with peel, and citrus-based alcoholic beverages can be problematic. So marmalade made with peel, and if you're taking zest. And the grapefruit effect, the interaction with CYP3A4 is the most well known and clinically significant effect, and that's because it's the only one that they have really researched. You know, what the world should do is, the UN or something should say, we need somebody to investigate, a research centre to investigate all these fruits and things which cause this bad thing. But at the moment it's all just anecdotal. One academic might say, I'm going to do a few papers on this, and it's all just a total mess. We don't really learn much. Whereas if it's a racehorse, the whole metabolism's known about them, even if they're a grade F racehorse. Whereas for humans, you're just to get on with it, really. The interaction with CYP3A4 is the most well known and clinically significant effect, and grapefruit remains the most cited example in drug interactions, and even this was anecdotally discovered by accident in 1990. Despite other foods having higher concentrations, so there you go, nobody's looking. This is due to its widespread consumption as a juice and the potency of its specific furanocoumarins. Okay, I'll do one more. I know the story anyway, so it was a complete accident. Yeah, don't tell me. So really we should have a research lab, a world research lab looking into furanocoumarins if we were a sensible world and its effect on people, and everyone should have a genetic test anyway. So it was a complete accident, yes I know. It was a discovery of the fruit itself, but rather, it was not a discovery of the fruit itself, but rather its unexpected interaction with medications. Yeah, I know this story because grapefruit juice was added to the pill in the research to just give it a bit of taste, a nicer taste, to mask the flavour. But then because they were doing tests that should be done in everyone, blood tests, they could see that everyone was going down, even the control group. Everyone's ability to think the drug, which was probably useless, everyone's ability to oxidize it was going down, even the control group. And then they realised, oh, it's a grapefruit. Yeah. The story begins in 1989 with a group of Canadian researchers led by clinical pharmacologist Dr. David Bailey at the Lawson Health Research Institute in Ontario. The researchers were conducting a study on the interaction between a new blood pressure medication called buildup and alcohol. To mask the taste of the alcohol they were administering to study participants, the researchers decided to use grapefruit juice as a mixer. They chose grapefruit juice simply because it was a common bitter-tasting liquid that could effectively hide the taste of the alcohol. When they analysed the blood of the study participants, they were astonished to find that the levels of the medication in their system was far higher than expected, as if the participants had been given an overdose. Yeah, so there you go. I don't know if the control group got that, maybe not, I don't know. Initially they weren't sure if the effect was due to the alcohol or to the juice. To figure it out, Dr. Bailey conducted a pilot study on himself. He took the medication with water and then he took it with grapefruit juice. The results were dramatic. His high blood levels of the drug were 5 times higher when he drank the juice. This was the eureka moment that revealed the interaction. The initial clinical report on this discovery was published in 1991 in The Lancet, and to think that from that, this is why every medicine now says don't take grapefruit, but really for the mainstream, for the system, it's a cop-out, because there's probably lots of other things, like you shouldn't be taking dill, parsley. Who knows what other things, other enzymes are affected by these medicines. This finding launched decades of research, with Dr. Bailey at the forefront to understand the mechanism behind the grapefruit effect. They eventually discovered that the furanocoumarins in the juice were responsible for irreversibly inhibiting the CYP3A4 enzyme in the gut wall. Oh, that's interesting, because this might be why I feel when I take these things I get sort of weird effect in my gut. It feels like I've got irritated gut. Maybe this is what causes irritable bowel syndrome, you don't know. This meant, or some of them cases, this meant that the drug wasn't being broken down before it entered the bloodstream, leading to much higher and potentially dangerous concentrations. The accidental use of grapefruit juice as a simple mixer led to a major discovery that has changed how doctors and pharmacists think about food-drug interaction. Today, labels on over 85 medications warn patients about the potential danger of consuming grapefruit, all thanks to that serendipitous choice of beverage in a clinical trial. But to me, I've not got any. It's not the fact that he discovered it, it's the fact that they don't know nowadays all things that these people should be avoiding. That's what annoys me, So it's not really a big, great discovery in my opinion. It was originally, but not enough's been done on it to work on. I've just asked that if there's other foods that have this effect on drugs. I'm just wanting to know, really, how far they've gone, and because they don't list them on drugs, do they? Or medicines, I should say. Foods that inhibit or affect CYP enzymes, similar to grapefruit, pomegranate. But they don't put that on the label, do they? Seville oranges. As mentioned previously, these oranges are a potent source of furanocoumarins and are known to cause strong drug interactions. Starfruit, nobody mentions that in the label, do they? This fruit has been shown to inhibit CYP enzymes, etc. Black pepper, yeah, this one, black pepper actually makes me feel ill, even though I love it. And this is probably why, I'm guessing. The compound piperine in black pepper can inhibit CYP3A4 and other enzymes, potentially increasing the bioavailability of some drugs. However, this is more of a concern with concentrated supplements of piperine rather than the typical amount used for seasoning food. Personally, I think it is that for me, so this might be. I love black pepper as well. I just can't take it. So this is news to me, I think they should put that in pharma drugs. Foods that affect drug absorption. Well, this is different. This is to do with absorption. Milk, yogurt, cheese. Foods that interact with specific drug classes. Vitamin K rich foods, such as leafy green vegetables, kale, spinach, broccoli. Tyramine rich foods. cured meats, cheeses, that affects monoamine oxidase. That is, because it's inhibitors, I think. So, alcohol, herbal supplements. St. John's worts. This popular herbal supplement is a potent inducer on CYP3A4. Yeah, I felt mentally ill in St. John's wort. So I don't know if it was an inducer or if it was inhibiting it. This is the opposite of grapefruit's effect, yeah, because it's an inducer. Yeah, so I don't know why. Ginseng, yeah, but I don't feel good on herbs, so maybe it's all to do with inhibiting CYP3 and 4 or messing about with it. Yeah, so there you go. I just wanted to point that out because we should be taught it at school, really. And we should be much further on in understanding. Everyone should have a genetic test, a full genome test to find out how they are with these detox enzymes. Because, like you just saw, maybe up to 10% of people have Gilbert syndrome to some degree, and they've probably, if they feel they've got chronic fatigue or whatever, that's probably the reason. At the moment, I don't think there's much you can do about it apart from that. So, and yeah, these things are build-up reactions. They're not acute reactions like you get with allergies, with type IgE allergies, where you get acute reaction. You won't get an acute reaction with this. It's just build-up. So, as if you're taking it again and again like a medicine. Yeah, that was my main points about that. Okay. And the future, because at the moment we all get the same dose of a medicine, say for adults, but because we're all actually different in how we can metabolize them, because this is all to do with metabolizing compounds. I just wanted to draw your attention to this. In the future, we'll all have genetic-based medicine. It'll be different doses for everyone. Yeah, we should be there already. We're not as systems. That's because the system's letting us down. It's a total mess. Like I say, a lot of these people end up on welfare and stuff, whereas the sensible thing would be to have research centres looking at these. Yeah, it's all a mess. Alright, so it's winding down time. You feel relaxed.